Good morning, fam. What's going on? It's Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. Here are 10 things that I learned after Alabama's dominating 63-0 victory over Western Kentucky. Number one, Kalen Deboer does have a fire in his belly. Before the game started, you saw him visibly upset about Western Kentucky's headset malfunction. He talks about it in the press conference. Basically, long story short, Western Kentucky's headsets were malfunctioning, which basically made Alabama take off their headsets. They had to bring Nick Sheridan, their offensive coordinator, down to the field level to call plays. Coach Kalen Deboer said he's been doing this a long time. He's never seen that happen. They made it work, and we're going to talk about that offensive performance right now. I think one of the things that clearly stands out is they have an elite big play ability. Alabama had scoring drives of 41 seconds, a minute and 31, a minute and 19, 33 seconds, 15 seconds. They had scores from 85 yards out, 55 yards out, and 22 yards out. An elite ability to put points on the board. It kind of reminded me of when Coach Loxley was running the offense and they were just scoring. Now, Coach Kalen Deboer was also asked during the press conference if he wanted to see more drives that were sustained. I get the question, and it's interesting to think about. The longest drive that Alabama had last night was 4 minutes and 10 seconds. I think you can't limit explosive plays. You have to let the players be able to do what they are going to do. Ryan Williams, the guy was 20 yards ahead of his defender, catch the passes into the end zone. Another play that he made on the 55-yard score, catches it, makes a play, gets in the end zone. Justice Haynes, you can't tell him to slow down. By the way, did you see that security guard just waving him in? I love that. Last night I saw it on SportsCenter. Really good clip. They're absolutely dangerous. Thought they played at a very high level. You can't look at the scoreboard. You have to make plays. And I think in time, you'll see this team establish drives, and I'll explain why in just a second. Milroe's deep ball is elite. All right, it's pro level. We continue to see it from him. You look at the Pro Football Focus grade. He had a grade of downfield passing over 20 yards of 92.9. Basically picked off where he left off from last season. He only had 9 attempts. But what I also liked about Jalen Milroe was his ability to use his legs. I felt a lot of times last year he didn't do that. Maybe he was handcuffed by Tommy Rees. I don't know. But, for example, last night he had a long run of 40 yards. He's the most dangerous player in all of college football because of his ability to just take over a game. We will see that throughout the season. I think we'll see it in crunch time. He had 79 yards rushing on the night, totaling 5 touchdowns. His Heisman Trophy campaign started last night. It was light work, yes. But when he had to execute plays, he did it at a very, very high level. Speaking of playing at a very high level, how about Ryan Williams? Only a freshman at the University of Alabama. Only 17 years old. What I'm about to tell you is fact, okay? He had the highest Pro Football Focus grade out of any player at Alabama last night. It's just remarkable. 87.0 was his Pro Football Focus grade. He had 2 catches for 139 yards and 2 touchdowns. You can't even write this. I thought he would score a touchdown last night. I really did. Did I think it'd be like that? No. Did I think that 55-yard score, that's a playmaking ability? And he said after the game, it was just a go route that he beat the corner. He's 17. He was slicing guys up in fall camp, right? During the scrimmage, did the same thing. Him and Milroe have a really good continuity. This guy's it. He started at the University of Alabama. 2-time Mr. Football Award winner. Absolutely phenomenal for Ryan Williams to do what he did on that big stage. He said he loved playing in front of 100,000 people. Just really phenomenal. The running back room. I think that's what's going to set Alabama apart from the rest of the world in college football. And here's why. You look at the long game of college football. Is Alabama going to have to sustain drives? Absolutely. They weren't challenged by Western Kentucky. But I think Jam Miller and Justice Haynes might be the best tandem in college football at the running back position. I get it. Ohio State has really good running backs. You can make an argument either way. But I think specifically with Alabama, here's my point. I think in college football, there's a lot of really good quarterbacks. But I don't think there's a lot of good tandem running backs like Alabama has. You saw Alabama played 5 running backs last night, right? The 2 starters, Justice Haynes and Jam Miller, looked unstoppable, combined for 181 yards. You saw Justice Haynes with his breakaway speed. I was waiting for that all last year. I was so excited to see him get opportunities, and I get it. These guys didn't have a lot of opportunities last night. But when we did see them, they're explosive running backs. I mean, Jalen Milroe diving into the end zone, he's so underrated, and he's a very good running back. I think now the world of college football understands the hype that we are talking about these running backs. It's not hype, it's fact. And I think when Alabama has to sustain drives down the season, and they have to have a 8-minute, 10-minute drive, whatever it's going to be, that these running backs can continue to move the chains, you can't stop them. I mean, they're going to absolutely eat. I'm going to talk about the freshman running backs as well. And then, of course, we saw Richard Young last night. He was a guy who continued to try to move the sticks. He's a big, imposing running back. He'll get more opportunities as we move forward. The offensive line, we saw a lot of depth. This is going to be an amazing stat that I'm going to point out. We saw at one point Kane Proctor, who was out with the sling, he said he got injured before a game. That's what Coach Kalen Deboer said. We didn't even get an update on what the injury was, but you had a new left tackle, a new left guard, and a new center during like one of the, was it the first drive or the second drive? Because what happened was Kane Proctor was out, so you had Pritchett starting, and then I've never seen this before. Booker and Brailsford on the same play, their helmets flew off, which means they went to the sideline. So you had a new left guard and a new center. Overall, we saw a lot of guys playing on the offensive line, which is amazing. We didn't really see this under Coach Saban, their rotation, and I get it. They were up by 60 points or whatever, but check this out, okay? Wilcom Formby played in 34 snaps, and we'll talk about more snaps during my Monday live show. Wilcom Formby had 34 snaps. Pritchett had 34 snaps. Parker Brailsford played in 33 snaps. Tyler Booker played in 33 snaps. Jaden Roberts played in 31 snaps. Ionita played in 30 snaps. Nyquil Bentrade played in 30 snaps. McVay played in 30 snaps. And Montgomery played in 28 snaps. The amount of playing time that these guys are going to get is critical for this type of a season. This is going to be a gauntlet type of a season where you're going to need all these guys to have experience. I really like that. Let's talk about the defense. The first thing that stands out to me is they are incredibly fast. It seems like they're faster from last year. Did it seem like that to you? Jahad Campbell, I've been talking about him all summer. He's it. Him and Deontay Lawson, I talk about best tandems. That's the best tandem in college football, period. They combined last night for 18 tackles. I love them in this 4-2-5 defensive front. By the way, I like the 4-2-5. I'm going to talk about Quay Russo next, but Jahad Campbell and Deontay Lawson, man, I just love to see him out there. Absolutely game breakers. A couple players that I wanted to hit on miscellaneously on the defense. Quay Russo, he was the highest graded player on the defensive side of the ball with 86.7. Remember, Ryan Williams was just at 87. He seemed to be everywhere. He's so talented, and the dude he's big. It's amazing to see him move around for that size. Keon Sabb, he had 2 interceptions in the first quarter alone. And how about the play of Tim Keenan and Jaheim Otis, man? Look, those guys are in the trenches, and they're moving around. They are absolutely flying around. I love to see it from those guys. And James Smith, man, he is super, super athletic. I know you guys have been talking about him as well. The freshman report, got a couple more points before I wrap up this video. Williams went crazy. Red Morgan, you're not going to complete a pass on him. You know what? I like the pass interference call. It turned into an interception. Jalen Mbakwe, man, he's it. It's hard to play corner. It's hard to stop a slant. He did that last night. He had a couple tackles. Daniel Hill ran tough. Xavier Brown, he played in 35 snaps starting at corner for Alabama. Kevin Riley, he's fast. And Caleb Odom, man, went up and caught a couple passes for 23 yards. Here's my extra point. Graham Nicholson was 7 of 7 on PATs, and James Burnap had 3 punts for 152 yards, which is an average of 50.7. Closing remarks. Is this team elite? 100%. Were they challenged? No. Will they be challenged? Yes, they will be. That Georgia team is really good. You can't look at that game, though. The next mentality will keep this team going. Overall, Kalen Deboer's debut was absolutely dominating. I want to hear from you inside the comment box. Give me 1 point that stood out for you. If you have 2, drop them in. Monday, we go live at 9 a.m. Central Time. We'll take you all the way to Coach Kalen Deboer's press conference as we get you ready for week 2 with Alabama taking on South Florida. And I might be live tonight depending on what happens with LSU and USC. I appreciate you guys so much. These are the 10 things that I learned from Alabama's victory over Western Kentucky. Please hit the thumbs up button, and I appreciate you guys supporting the product. Coming to you from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube.